For my research project, I chose Henry Ford to speak on him and show what he did, contributed to the world a lot, and just give some information about him and what he did. So I chose Henry Ford. Henry Ford was born in 1863 in Dearborn, Michigan. He had always wanted to invent the next popular object for the world. When he turned 16, he left his home and went to Detroit. He had found a job as a machinist. After working there for a little bit, he returned home to work on his family's farm. But he continued to operate service steam engines and work occasional shifts in Detroit factories. In 1888, Henry got married to Clara Bryant, who grew up on a nearby farm. After they got married, Ford had decided to purchase a sawmill to support him and his wife. In 1891, Ford and his wife moved back to Detroit, where he was hired as an engineer for the Edison Illuminating Company. Ford had put a lot of work in, and after 2 years at his job, he was promoted to chief engineer. Around this time, Clara, his wife, gave birth to their only son, Edsel Brian Ford. While being on call for 24 hours every day at his job, Ford spent his off time working on a gasoline-powered horseless carriage or automobile. In 1886, Ford completed the quadricycle. This consisted of a light metal frame fitted with 4 bicycle wheels that was powered by a 2-cylinder, 4-horsepower gasoline engine. Ford was determined to improve his prototype, so he began selling the quadricycle to help him start designing something new. Various investors began to give Ford backlash over the next several years. Some of these men who gave him backlash later formed the Detroit Automobile Company, which later turned into the Henry Ford Company. A month after the Henry Ford Company was established, the first Ford car, the 2-cylinder, 8-horsepower Model A, was assembled at a plant on Mack Avenue in Detroit. At the time, only a few cars were assembled per day, and groups of 2 or 3 workers built them by hand from parts that were ordered from other companies. Ford was dedicated to the production of an efficient, reliable automobile that would be affordable for everyone. The result was the Model T, which made its first debut in October of 1908. The Model A proved to be a relative disappointment and was outsold by both Chevrolet, made by General Motors, and Plymouth, made by Chrysler. It was discontinued in 1931. In 1932, Ford introduced the first V8 engine, but by 1936, the company had dropped to number 3 in sales in the automotive industry. Despite his progressive policies regarding the minimum wage, Ford waged a long battle against unionization of labor, refusing to come to terms with the United Automobile Workers, which is the UAW. Even after his competitors did so in 1937, Ford security staff clashed with the UAW organizers in the so-called Battle of Overpass at the Rouge plant, which the National Labor Relations Board ordered Ford to stop interfering with the union organization. Ford Motor Company signed its first contract with the UAW in 1941, but not before Henry Ford considered shutting down the company to avoid it. Okay. I chose Henry Ford for this project because you can argue that a lot has happened to automobiles since he first designed it in 1908. There are several types of vehicles that on this planet that you haven't even heard of. There are some type of vehicles that you won't even see before. There are some type of vehicles that feel like roller coasters, and some type of vehicles that make you feel like you're floating in space. They even have electric vehicles out now, and we can thank Elon Musk for that. But I say all that to say, without Henry Ford designing the first vehicle, the world will be very chaotic. It will be hard to get to places in a fashionable time and to travel to each state without flying on the airplane. So I thank Henry Ford so much for what he did.